Welcome back, guys, to the Stadium Drive podcast presented by Manscaped. What you need to do is you need to go to manscaped.com, use our promo code STADIUM for 20% off plus free shipping. Everybody loves free shipping and a discount. Manscaped is literally the best for men's grooming. So, yeah, manscaped.com, promo code STADIUM for 20% off. We have a very special guest this afternoon hanging out with us, former Georgia quarterback and current SEC network analyst, DJ Shockley. What's going on, man?
What up, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
What's up?
Good.
All good, man. I appreciate y'all having me on, man.
Oh,
give
yeah.
Me give me some of that good manscape in my life, man. I'll be good to go.
Oh, there you go.
Shout out.
So what you been up to, man? How different has this whole coronavirus stuff just changed the way you do things?
It's been weird, man. I guess just like every other person trying to adapt to it, trying to, find your rhythm in it. I got two little ones, 8-year-old son, 10-year-old little girl. So I'm trying to make sure that they're still doing things they're supposed to be doing. Me and my wife we try to have a workout plan every single day to do some stuff, but still doing some stuff here and there with work with the SEC Network and ESPN and some other stuff with WSB in Atlanta here. So trying to stay busy here and there, but like everybody else, just trying to adapt to the times of the day,
Yeah, I hear you. So before we talk about the potential upcoming season of college football, we're all hopeful we get a season. Let's talk your career. Now, is it true you got drafted out of high school to play baseball?
Yeah, man. I love baseball. Baseball was actually my first love.
Really?
And when I was in high school, though, I was one of the best pitchers on our team, so I pitched all the time.
Oh.
So my arm would just be dangling every inning or something like that. And I'm like, I can't go to college and do this. And I was not knowing that in college they would have other good pitchers and I pitch every other day.
Yeah.
But I love baseball. My first love. Thought I would be playing baseball, but of course I went and played football. Regret it a little bit because dudes are making $200-300 million now. But nah, God had a plan for me, man. Football worked out pretty good for me, and things are good, man.
I hear you. So, what made you choose UGA out of every other school?
It's a good question, man. Georgia, I'm a Georgia boy, so I grew up in Georgia. I always liked the Dogs. But as I got into high school and started being recruited by everybody in the country, you started to go all these different places and these camps, and you started to like certain places. And I'll be honest, it actually came down to Georgia, Florida State, North Carolina for a little bit. Maryland was a little bit in there. But it really came down to Georgia and Florida State. And at the time, Coach Rick was at Florida State. And I'll tell you guys a quick funny story. We're at Florida State. I met their team gala, whatever it is. And I'm sitting there with Coach Rick, and he's like, you know what? Everybody call me Shock. He's like, you know what, Shock? Florida State would be the best place for you. I'm telling you, you come here, you can flourish, you can be great. And I knew it. I said, hey, he coached Chris Winkie, he coached Charlie Ward. Obviously, he can coach QBs.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what I want to play for. So 2 weeks later, he takes the Georgia job. The day he takes the Georgia job, he's sitting in my living room. The first thing he said to me is, Shock, Georgia's the best place for you. It's gonna be great for you. I said, Coach, you said the same thing about Florida State. He said, well, you know what I mean. I'm the best coach for you.
Right.
So we always have a little laugh at that even to this day about it. But ultimately, it just came down to him going to Georgia and me just saying, hey, I'm a homegrown guy. Playing for him would be awesome. And Georgia, if you guys have been before, it's not a bad place to be.
What was it like playing for Coach Rick once you got there and settled?
It was fun, man. You know what? Coach Rick is probably one of the best men you'll ever know. And a lot of people see him on TV or they see him in a game. You see how even keel he is and doesn't really get upset. And people say, is he really like that? And I'm like, yes, that's who he is. And that's the one thing that I love the most and respected the most is this guy is in probably one of the toughest jobs in the country as a head coach at a major university like Georgia. And he's the same guy, whether things are going good, bad, or indifferent. And he always treated his guys with respect. And the one thing that, I've kind of taken into my, adulthood and father life is this guy always talked about making sure you take care of your family, making sure your name matters, making sure the name on the back of your jersey, that you don't ever do anything to mess that up. And I always took that with me, and he's always been that kind of guy. And even to this day, we're still good friends, and we talk regularly all the time.
I got a quick story. In Nebraska, I graduated high school from there, and his brother was actually my varsity baseball coach.
Oh,
so
yeah?
I never got to meet him, but in Omaha, yeah, his brother was a good dude. So I'm sure it runs in the family. So that's pretty cool.
I don't know how you lived out there. I spent a year and a half in Nebraska.
I watched y'all play for the Nighthawks.
Yeah, I spent 2 years out there, and I was like, man, this is a
you guys were playing in Rosenblatt, which was a horrible, horrible place. I mean, people like it for College World Series, but it was a dump.
Yeah,
so,
it was not fun to be there.
It was too damn cold there for me. I'm from Georgia too, by the way. So yeah, it was cold.
Too cold for me. I'm a South dude, so being there was like, nah. That's what I'm like.
Yeah.
Cool.
What did you think about Rick's tenure at Miami? I'm a big Miami fan. I was super excited when they hired him. So what did you think about that?
I thought it was a kind of a uphill battle for him. I know he wanted to go in there and kind of change that culture back to even when he was there, get back to those bad boy days of people really intimidated when Miami come to town. And by the time Coach Rick got there, you got Florida, you got all these other, you got South Florida, you got all these other schools around there in that state that are really good too.
Yeah.
And, Florida State, I mean, you got all these other schools around there, and it's tough to get all those top-tier players. But I still think it comes down to QB play when he was there. I don't think they really ever had that solid QB play year in and year out. They had some guys that play good here and there sparingly. A guy come in and play good for a game or two, but never was consistent. And ultimately, I think that's what hurt him when you don't have a QB to run the show for you. It's hard to win anything, but especially win in the ACC like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, that's a good point. So, what was one of your favorite moments as a Georgia Bulldog?
Oh man, I got a couple of them, man. I'll be honest.
You can say a couple.
Yeah, when we won the SEC in 2002, we hadn't won it in a long time. So being a part of that team, bringing that kind of history while I was there was pretty cool. And then my senior year, it's ironic. It's the first game against Boise where we were supposed to be the only team in the country that was going to lose that day. That was, that wasn't an underdog. And going into that game, ended up throwing for like 5 touchdowns or something like that, and tying a school record. And for me, going into that season, there were a lot of people that doubted my abilities to play, or doubted my ability to be able to run this show. And to show them in that first game was pretty satisfying for me. And then I think the other one has to be us winning the SEC championship in 2005 when LSU at the time were number 3. If they win, they possibly go and play the national championship game.
Yeah.
Nobody gave us, any chance to win that ball game, and we crushed them, beat them by like 20, I think it was. That's when they had Jamarcus Russell. They had a really good defense.
Yeah.
And we kind of put it on them, and to be the MVP of that game was pretty cool, man. So those were some cool moments for sure in that time.
Yeah. I like how you just downplayed throwing 5 touchdown passes, or just 5 or so. It's no big deal.
Sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't, man. Those things, man.
Yeah. What's who was one of your favorite teammates, or maybe the funniest teammate?
Oh man, funniest teammate. Oh man, we had a bunch of characters on our team for sure. You guys would never probably know it, but Reggie Brown was one of the funniest dudes that I ever knew. Play receiver, was just silly dude, man. And then you always got tons of dudes on the team who like to crack jokes. And I remember one of my good friends is Russ Tanner. He plays center for us. The countryest white guy I ever known in my life. Russ is from Wrightsville, Georgia. So every time I talk to him, I say, Wrightsville, but over the years, you know, we became great friends. I was at his wedding. He was at my wedding.
Oh, nice.
So we had a bunch of dudes who were definitely funny guys, had some character guys as well. But I think Reggie Brown would be the one guy you probably wouldn't think would be that type of guy.
Huh. I hear you. So
what's the toughest atmosphere or toughest place you've ever played?
Oh, that's easy. LSU. It's unreal at night. I mean, when people say it's tough to play there at night, you don't want to be there at night, it's the truth. Another good story is I think it's 02 or 03, maybe 03. We're going to LSU, and this I knew it was going to be a long day. We haven't even got to the stadium yet, and the usual, you know, fans are rocking your bus, going back and forth. And then I look outside the window, and I look over this little kid. He's probably can't be no more than 6 years old, and he's flicking us off. So then it was going to be a long day. And then we get into the stadium. Their whole student section is already there. And they're loud, they're raucous already, and we still got 2.5, 3 hours before game time. And I just remember that being the loudest place ever. And, I mean, I never thought literally that I could feel the ground shaking with the crowd. Being there at night and something happens big, it gets pretty loud. And so LSU easily is the loudest place I've ever been in and played at. But on the other side of it, I love it. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to be in that environment where everybody hates you. And
was that your favorite away place to play, or did you have another place that you loved playing at, obviously, other than Georgia?
I love playing at Auburn. It's fun. That's a raucous crowd. They get into it. Another place I love to play at is Georgia Tech because it's like a second home game for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's all Georgia people. You know, that's always always got to dig at my yellow jacket a little bit.
Yeah.
But Auburn's pretty fun for sure. And then the other one that's always cool is obviously the Georgia-Florida game, where it's literally split right down the middle. And I remember when I came to Georgia, they told us about that, and I didn't really believe it until I got there. And I said, wow, it is really right down the middle of the goalpost, split down the middle, so it's pretty cool.
I want to bring up Georgia-Florida. Do you believe they should change that to a home and home, or should they keep that in Jacksonville?
It's a home game for Florida. I mean, we got to go to the state of Florida.
Yeah,
essentially, yeah.
But you know what, man? I think us as players, we don't really mind, man. I mean, it's a new environment, it's a new place, it's something different. It's something different that we have as far as that game. Nobody else has that kind of atmosphere like we have. I know other, schools have something similar, but when you say, what is used to call the largest outdoor cocktail party, I know they're trying to change it and all, but when you say that, you know exactly what two schools are in.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be cool to play Florida at home. I would have loved to play in the Swamp. That would have been cool. Never really played there before. Never seen that stadium besides now I get to call games in it. But I'm sure fans would love to go to the opposing team stadium and stuff like that. But I think just over the years, that's been one of the richest traditions is having that game there in Jacksonville, split right down the middle, which is fun.
I hear you. Now, you mentioned calling games. Is it hard to stay unbiased? How is that like?
Yeah, you know what? Calling games, and the toughest part is the studio work, really. When you're calling games, sometimes you're just calling what's happening during the game, and sometimes you're not thinking about the bias of, your team is Georgia, and used to going against this school, whatever.
Right.
The toughest thing is in the studio stuff where you have to be really tough on your school, and you're talking about Georgia, and they may come off like last year when Georgia loses to South Carolina, and I have to talk about that game. I had to be hard on Georgia. I had to speak the obvious, because obviously if you say, hey, Georgia was good, they did this, they did that, people are going to say that's complete BS. So I think you got to speak the truth. And that's the one thing that I kind of learned is I got a job to do. And people who get mad at it, if they're Georgia people, say, hey, I'm being too hard. Well, hey, it's my job now. And ESPN is paying me, so that's what I'm going to do. So I try not to let that bias come out, but then there's times where they don't mind you having a little bias to your school and having a little school pride.
I hear you. So one last question on your career in Athens and all that, and then we're going to move into some current things. I had a question from a fan, and they want to know, what is your favorite meal when you go to Athens? Where's your go-to place to go eat?
Oh man, a bunch of places in that. That's a good one. There's a place that I go to probably every time I go there. It's a barbecue place. It's called the Butt Hut, and I just love it because of the name. It's called the Butt Hut.
Yeah.
It's like a little hole in the wall place, but the food is amazing. It is really good. You guys get a chance to go, you got to go try it out. But the Butt Hut is a place that I enjoy going to. A ton of places, of course, in Athens, but this place has been there for a minute, and I love the barbecue.
Oh yeah, me too. I love it.
All right, let's talk some current upcoming season. Hopefully, there is going to be an upcoming season. First, do you think it'll be just a normal regular season?
College pro?
Both.
I think pro is going to happen. I think simply because you look around the landscape of the league and the owners and how much money is involved, and these guys are considered employees, then they're going to find a way to make that happen. Whether there's 25%, 20% fans in the stadiums, that's a different story. But I think NFL has a better chance of playing. College, I think, is still up in the air, simply because they're just starting to go back to the campuses. And I think the biggest thing is how healthy will everybody be after a month of everybody being on campus in these facilities? How well are things being sanitized, all that kind of stuff? And you think about, what's just happened. I think it was today or yesterday where Texas has 13 guys who tested positive. I mean, that's not good. That's not something that NCAA will like, because you never know how many other people they have been affected, and they got to be out for 14 days, and who don't know who they came in contact with. So it's going to be a tougher thing to kind of corral when you get all these guys there. And if everybody continues to stay healthy, then there's a greater chance. But if things continue to happen the way they have, when things pop up where you got 2 or 3 guys here or there and it comes up every single week, it's going to be hard to fill a team with so many guys quarantined. So if I would say college, I'm hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful because I know everybody loves college football, as I do. But health is the number one case, and it's a difference between in the NFL when you got employees, where in college these kids are not employees.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll forget about Corona for a second. What's your thoughts on Jamie Newman, transfer from Wake Forest? Me and Hudgens saw a lot of him in the ACC. But what's your opinions on him?
I like what I see, man. I actually, before he even came to Georgia, I watched him a few times in some big-time games, and I thought he has all the attributes to be a really good quarterback. I think this guy, with the talent that Georgia has, can easily be a first-round pick. He has the arm, he has the athleticism, and I think with the talent around him and being on the stage that he will be in Georgia, it gives him an opportunity to show people what he really is about. And when he was at Wake Forest, just last year alone, the dude carried the ball 180 times. Now, I know that's sometimes scrambling, sometimes that's, you got to break outside the pocket, whatever it may be, but that's way too much for a quarterback. It was a top 5 number in the ACC running the football. And I think that's part of what he wanted to get away from, was he wanted to show people he can be a drop-back passer. He has a strong arm. He has athleticism. And then you bring in Todd Monk, and the new offensive coordinator at Georgia, who wants to have this air raid style. So they're going to throw it. They're also going to use his athleticism to help his offense, which I think will be tremendous. I expect Jamie Newman to have a big year. He is a talented kid who, when I turn on the tape, can make every throw. He's big and physical. He's 230 pounds. I was talking to Kirby Smart the other day, and he said the kid is 233 right now, and he is solid. He said he is ripped up. So it's a guy who will be able to handle the pounding, I think, in the SEC. But I think a lot of people be surprised with the way he throws the football.
Yeah. So you don't see a quarterback controversy if JT Daniels is eligible, which he probably won't. But if JT Daniels is eligible, you still think it's Jamie Newman's show for this year?
Absolutely. I think it's his job to lose. And you think about it, this guy's coming in as a grad transfer. Think about JT Daniels coming off an ACL. Jamie Newman has been there since January. So he's been there this whole time learning in the playbook. I just had a chance to talk to him probably about a week ago, and he said, hey, I've been in the playbook. I've been learning. I've been doing it for, past few months now, and JT Daniels is really just getting to campus. So
Right.
it's going to take a little learning curve for him. And you think about, hey, if we're going into a season where there's no real off season, they're going to go right into camp. You got to go with the guy who's been around a little bit longer and the guy who probably knows the system a little better right now than JT Daniels.
Right.
Yeah.
So, given Kirby's conservative background, how realistic is it that we see a true air raid system this year for Georgia?
I think the true telling is what has happened in the past. I think you look at where Georgia has been and how close they have been to winning the big one.
Yeah.
And then you look at some of these other schools who have won national championships, who've had quarterbacks that can move. I mean, we all knew Trevor Lawrence probably was athletic enough, but nobody probably knew he was as athletic he was when he ran away from everybody at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Or you look at last few years in Alabama when you had Jalen Hurts and you had Tua, and when you've had offenses like that stretch you as a defense, those are the ones that are hard to cover. And Kirby is a defensive guy. He knows how hard it is to account for all 11 guys. And for the last, however many years, Georgia hasn't had that guy back there who threatens you with the football running. Jake Fromm has been the drop back guy, but he never was a guy you thought about when you thought about running. And
Right.
for the last couple of years, you can think about it, they've been looking for a guy like that. They went out and got Justin Fields. They got DeJuan Mathis. They got some some mobile guys back there who they have tried to recruit to that position. And I think they finally got one. And I think if Kirby is smart, he understands I need a guy who can open it up for me, and they need to do that.
Now,
for the running backs, so we're talking about the air raid and everything. Do you still see that being a focal point of the offense? Because obviously for Georgia, it's always been about running backs. And, with Monken, obviously the air raid is going to be different. But, I mean, we still have Zeus and those guys. So, I mean, I was just wondering, do you think that that's still going to – they're going to lean heavily on that as well and then have Jamie sprinkled in there as well with the running threat or the dual threat on his end as well?
I mean, at the end of the day, there will be some moments where they throw the football down the field more than they have, push the ball vertically more than they have in the past, and here comes the RPO game. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it and they need some hard-earned yards, they're going to get in that I formation. They're going to turn around. They're going to hand it off to those big running backs. And you think about the guys that Kirby has recruited. I've been looking at his past 3-4 recruiting class. Every offensive lineman that he has had that's coming there has been 6'4", 315 minimum coming out of high school. So he's not getting these guys to pass block all the time. He's looking for these guys to roll grade people, be athletic, and get downfield. So I expect them still to have that downhill principle of we want to run you over. Kenny McIntosh is a guy who played sparingly last year. He's 6'1", 220 pounds. Zamir, we know, is 6', 230. Like, they got these big physical backs, and you got James Cook as well, but he's a slasher. He's a guy you use on third down, but they got these big physical backs. And then they just – when they got Kendall Milton and they signed a class, and this guy's 6'1", 225 as well. So he wants to go back to those big backs like Gurley when they were road grading people during those times.
My last question for you, just for current stuff, is were you surprised with the Coley move to assistant head coach and bringing Monken in after a year, or did you know that? Did you kind of think that was going to happen after that 1 year? Because that was kind of a surprise to a lot of us. So
it was a surprise, but I think if you look at the way that season played out, I think there was a lot of inconsistency throughout that year. Everybody was questioning play calls here and there. Everybody was questioning why this offense looked a certain way. And Georgia is in a position to just try to rebuild and try to get going. This is a program that's expected to play at a national championship level, and the offense just didn't match it. And you look at all the talent that they have on that side of the ball, it's just uncalled for you not to have an offense that puts up big-time numbers week in and week out, regardless of what defense you're playing against. And I think as the season kind of progressed, you kind of saw the writing on the wall that there was going to be a change on who was calling the plays, and I think that's why he went out and got somebody who can stretch the field a little bit more in Monken.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to circle back on Fromm here for just 1 minute. Now, were you shocked that Fromm left early, or was it one of those, hey, we're going to go a different direction type thing?
You know what? I kind of went back and forth on this because at the beginning, I always thought Fromm was a 4-year guy. I thought that he would be there for 4 years. And then the way this season went, I felt as though he would feel I have more to prove. And there were games, I think he had 5 or 6 games where he completed 50% of his passes, less than 50%. Yeah. And he just didn't look like a guy who, would garner big time first, second, third round qualities on the next round. And I think it showed. And a lot of it was about arm strength. A lot of it, we all knew about the leadership and how smart he was. Everybody knew all that. But on the next level, they want those intangibles, and that's the bottom line. And as the year progressed, he didn't look like a guy who looked similar to a Joe Burrow who was killing it, or guys who were at the top of that draft. And it was obvious where he slated with those guys. I thought he would be there, a 4th year. But then you also look at the scenario of, okay, he's going to have young receivers. He's going to have a young offensive line again. Does he want to have to put the time in again? He's going to have a new offensive coordinator. All those nuances of new things happening, I don't think he wanted to happen in his last year. He probably thought this was his best chance to get out and, try to make a move to the NFL.
Yeah. The SEC East is going to be a battle this year. I can't remember a time where Florida and Georgia are just I don't really know who is who's the underdog, who necessarily is probably the favorite to win. Do you think Tennessee has a say, or do you think it's truly just a Georgia-Florida battle?
I still think it's Georgia-Florida. I think Tennessee has done a real good job just in this past year of recruiting. And I thought Tennessee did a really good job at the end of the year winning their last 6 ball games. And I think Jeremy Pruitt has done a really, really, really good job of recruiting one, but changing the culture at Tennessee. I had a couple games with Tennessee last year, and he said at the beginning of the year, we didn't know how to practice. And this is a guy who's coming from Alabama, coming from Georgia, coming from a place where the talent is there, but also these guys want it. And he said at Tennessee, they didn't want him when he first got there. So he's changed the culture. The discipline is different. They're playing at a higher level, and they're recruiting. I mean, they have turned it on in this past offseason in recruiting. Yeah. And that's why I believe they're still probably a couple years away for those guys to come in, and then they can be sophomores and juniors. And now we go back to, okay, this is what Tennessee used to be. Tennessee used to always be the team in the East that everybody worried about. But I still think right now Florida and Georgia are a little bit head above those other teams in the East. But Tennessee's closing. But Florida, talent-wise, having Kyle Trask come back, the way he played last year, he was 8-2 as a starter. Dan Mullen is a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal recruiter as well. But Florida and Georgia, definitely, it always comes down to that game. Truthfully, who goes to the SEC championship. And I think this year will be no different. It's going to be a dog fight for many, many days to come.
Yeah. Who do you think's the favorite in the West? Because there's not really a team that sticks out above anybody else there either.
I think it's one of those 3-man races again. And I think the two obvious ones at the top you look at is Alabama, of course. And then you think about, is it Auburn or is it LSU? You got to wonder, are those two at the top? But also I got a sneaker team that I think is going to make a lot of noise in Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher, Kellen Mond coming back. They returned 18 or 19 guys from both sides of the ball, 8 or 9 guys on both sides of the ball. This is a talented team. And Jimbo Fisher, you got to give him a little credit for their schedule last year playing the top 4 teams in the country. But I think that only bodes well for him. But I still think Alabama, LSU, and Auburn are the 3 teams at the top. That's going to be tough to beat. Another year for Bo Nix on his belt with Gus Miles on, becoming a more prolific passer. He had games where he looked good, but other games where he had to use his legs. How good is Mac Jones? We saw, a little bit of him last year. We saw some spurts where he played really well. And then, Miles Brennan. And he do some similar stuff that Joe Burrow did at LSU. He's going to have the talent around him. But, hey, we got all these guys who are coming in with a lot of expectations, and you won't know until Saturday under the lights.
Yeah. How it's hard not to love Coach O, though. Coach O is just –
That's my guy, man. I love Coach O. He is one of the best guys to talk to, and this guy loves ball. I remember we had an LSU game last year when they played Utah State when they were playing against Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And he is one of those guys who broke him down. He's just fun to talk to. We did a little fun little thing with him. And, everybody loves his voice, which is always fun. But Coach O he's one of those stand-up guys who you love to be around, and you can see why his players love him and want to play for him. I mean, he told us a couple stories of how he tried to get his guys motivated pregame, and he's talking about, cracking cans over his head, all kind of stuff. And as he's walking out, blood's coming down his forehead, and guys are just going crazy. They do this pretty cool thing where he says a different phrase, and they all snap their chin straps at the same time. I mean, they got a bunch of cool things they do at LSU, and it's all because of it.
Heck yeah. So before we let you go, we want to transition for a minute and talk a little golf.
Yeah.
We know you're a big golf guy. We all play golf, all three of us. We're not good. So
some are better than others.
Some are better than others.
So who's better?
Brad's the best. Brad's the best.
Sitting back like, yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Nah, I'll stay humble on this one. They're pretty good. Everybody's
Who's pretty good? I'm terrible. So, first question is, we're in South Georgia, so if you ever feel like playing, let us know. We'll ride up. It's no big deal.
Gotcha.
But, so what do you shoot? What's your handicap?
You know what's so tough is, man, because of my schedule in the fall, I play none. So during this time when I get a chance to play, so I started to get better. I'll shoot in the 80s a little bit. I have a couple rounds where, I shoot a 95 or something, and, but hey, I love to play. And then the fall comes around. So from August till February, I play no golf. So I have to retrain myself every single offseason to play. So I don't really keep a handicap, man. I just love to play. I got a bunch of guys that go out with, and, we'll bang it around a little bit. I just be happy if I don't lose my sleeve of balls.
Hey,
that's the way to do it. Yeah. That's the best way to do it.
I thought I'd be a bogey golfer, man. That's what I said. If I can, get a couple pars here and there, bogey a hole, man, I'll be happy, man. Especially with I don't have enough time to put it in. So, hey, if you shoot bogey a hole, you shoot a 90. So, hey, I'm all about it.
Oh yeah, okay. We're playing with DJ Shockley soon. We talked to Josh Scobie, the former Jacksonville Jaguars kicker. A month or two ago.
They're always good at golf. I know he's got to be good.
Yeah, a month or two ago we talked to him, and we're 2 hours away from Jacksonville, so we've talked about playing and all this. And he's like a scratch golfer, and we're like, oh boy, I don't know about all this.
Golf. Yeah, kickers. You got to leave those guys alone, man, because they got all the free time. So.
They know the wind.
They're still practicing. They're out on the range. They're hitting balls. So I haven't met a kicker yet that's not good at golf.
Yeah. Who's some of the favorite athletes you've played with?
Oh, man. So I've played with, of course, some of the guys I played with the Falcons. Played with Matt Ryan before, who's a really good golfer.
Really?
Played with Bo Jackson before.
Wow.
Played with a bunch of Auburn guys who I'm buddies with, like Ronnie Brown, Collis Rodgers, Jason Campbell.
Nice.
We had Campbell on the podcast a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, J Cam's a good dude. So a bunch of guys here and there. I mean, you play in all these different tournaments around, so you get a chance to play and meet with all these guys, which is pretty cool. So I just love golf and being out there having a good time, having a good cigar and chilling out.
Heck yeah. Are you a brand specific guy? Are you a TaylorMade guy or Titleist or?
I got a little bit of everything. I ain't gonna lie.
Really?
I mean,
okay.
If it works for me, like in my bag right now, I got Callaway irons, and I have TaylorMade, wood. So
okay,
I'm a little bit all over the place. If it works for me, that's what I'm hitting right now. So
it's whatever's flying straight too.
Right.
Yeah, whatever's flying straight too for the ball.
No doubt. Whatever one can find a fairway, that's what I'm with.
So I seen on your Instagram you went to the Masters. I think it was 2018. I think.
Yeah.
Dude, tell us about that experience. That is Brad's been to a practice round.
Yeah.
But tell us about going to the Masters.
So it was pretty cool. I have a partnership with Coke, and I have a bunch of good friends at Coke, and we went and we got to go to Butler's Cabin. We got to, kind of go to all the fancy places around the Masters. Was pretty cool, man. I hadn't been in a while, so to go and experience it that way was pretty cool. We got to play Champions Retreat, which is, of course, similar to Augusta, real close to it. We played out there, which is really nice, and it's made by all 3 nines are made by all the different jacks. So it was fun to play out there in that. So the Masters is obviously a cool place, and you look at that grass, you're like, man, I can sleep on this grass.
So the bunkers are ridiculous. I didn't realize the TV doesn't do it justice how deep those things are.
Not at all. Not at all. People watch it on TV. You have no understanding of how nice it is out there and what those guys are playing on. It's literally better than carpet that they're playing on.
It's crazy.
What a year to go for sure. Were you there on Sunday?
No, I was there. See, that's one thing. I don't want to be there on Sunday. I want to be in my living room where I can watch it and see it and see replays and see what's going on everywhere. So I'll go on one of the other days, and Sunday I like to be at the house and watch it.
That's an awesome year to go, man.
Yeah, that is. All right, so we've got one last question for you, and we'll circle back to football. Give us an SEC championship prediction. Who do you think is going to be in it if you had to pick?
Oh, man, that's a good one.
Unbiased.
I think Georgia and Auburn play in the SEC championship game.
Okay.
And
I like it.
I think it's a close game, and I think Georgia finds a way to win and get into the playoffs. And I'm not going that far. I don't know what happens in the playoffs.
And then they meet Miami in the playoffs. No big deal.
Oh, yeah, you guys got what? Nicosi Perry? Not Nicosi Perry.
Nah, we got Derek King, man.
Yeah. Derek King coming over from Houston. That's nice, man.
Yeah. So, all right, man. We appreciate you jumping on and hanging out with us.
Who's coming out of the ACC then?
Oh, okay.
Clemson.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Clemson and –
They're backups. Clemson's second string.
Yeah. Clemson and North Carolina, to be honest with you, is honestly.
Yeah, I like that QB in North Carolina. He was good as a freshman.
And when North Carolina hired Mac Brown, I was like, nah, he's had it. But
Mac's
the man is killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Good deal.
But all right, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you fellas having me on, man. Appreciate it, man. And you guys cool dudes, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, dude. Go Dogs.
All right, fellas.